Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a Comic Book Wednesday update. Oh, it's been so long since we've done one of these. Yeah, well, we've got a little catching up to do. I've got quite a stack of stuff here. I've got some trade paperbacks, a handful of individual issues, a bunch of novels, which I don't really have a book day, so I thought I'd just throw them in with the comic book stuff, and a couple of comic book related movies. So we got a lot to cover today, so let's get right to it. Today, on Comic Book Wednesday on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Alright, first, but most definitely not least, I picked up the second volume of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimate Collection. Yeah, so you may recall a while back I picked up the first volume, which was wonderful. And in my downtime over the past couple of months, I've actually been reading these, and it's been wonderful. I actually had all of the issues you see on the back here, except for issue... No, I didn't have all of them. I didn't have issue number 3, and I didn't have the Raphael one-shot, but otherwise I had everything. So this has issues 1, 2, 3, the Raphael one-shot, and then 4, 5, 6, and 7. If you're curious, my introduction to the Turtles was issue number 5 of the original Mirage Studios run, and I collected it for about a year or two after that. So it was great reading these old stories again, and also reading the 2 chapters that I'd never read before, and getting the full story for the first time. So great stuff. So in Volume 2, we have all of these issues. So we've got, 7 more issues. We've got the Michelangelo one-issue micro-series one-shot. Issue 8, which is the one that guest stars Cerebus, which is pretty cool. We've got the Donatello one-shot, and then issue 9, and then the Leonardo one-shot, and then issues 10 and 11. So very good. I mean, you get a pretty good chunk of the original Eastman and Laird run there between those 2 volumes. So they originally did 5 hardcover editions of that. So I'm hoping all 5 of them get the paperback treatment, because the paperbacks are a little bit cheaper and just a little bit smaller, so they don't take up quite so much space on the shelf and are a little less unwieldy to read. So definitely hoping they do that. They've also been doing paperback reprints of the color editions, because there was color editions of those as well. The color classics, I think they called them. Alright, so then next up we have Volume 2 of Robotech, which of course is the new sort of retelling of the classic Robotech story. This one actually, Simon Furman takes over partly as with some of the writing duties, which is pretty cool. But I mean, just look at this. I mean, this is freaking beautiful. I mean, just amazing stuff here. So yeah, definitely enjoying what they've been doing with this. I haven't read all of it. I've just kind of skimmed through it, but I definitely like what I see. They've been, there's a lot that is familiar to fans of the original series, and a lot that is new. They go in actually some pretty different directions with the story, which is pretty cool. And then here, this is one that I saw on the shelves, I guess when it came out in hardcover originally. I talked about this a bit on Saturday Night Insanity a little while ago, our sort of return edition on July 28th. We have Fight Club 2, written by the original author, Chuck Palahniuk. And this is wonderful. I actually just devoured this in one sitting. I think taking a brief break in between, but otherwise, yeah, just read it all in one massive go. I couldn't put it down. It's really interesting because it takes, much like how the movie and the original novel, I have not read the novel, but I've seen the movie a number of times, but much like how the original the stories kind of played with the conventions of storytelling, like the storytelling process, I guess, and kind of turned it on its ear a little bit. Fight Club 2 does that even more so. In fact, Chuck Palahniuk himself shows up as a character, like as himself in the story, as he's writing the story, telling the story to like a writer's group of people who are kind of critiquing him as he goes. But it sounds weird. It's a trope that's been done before in other stories, but this is kind of an interesting take on it. It's hard to describe, but just read it. I mean, if you liked the movie or the book, read the comic. And the thing is, it seems that with this one, he's taking the unconventional way he likes to tell stories even further, and actually incorporating the medium itself in which you are experiencing the story into the story. So this one has a lot of stuff about the fact that the movie and the book of the original were different, and how this is very much the comic book version of the story and plays with that convention, and is different from the novel in some ways. It's hard to describe, but then again, so was the original Fight Club. It's just one of those stories you have to experience for yourself. I really enjoyed it a lot. I will read this again, and I think it works very well, both as a sequel to the original book as well as a sequel to the movie, and as well as being kind of its own unique take on some of the concepts. It's just really bizarre and fun. And then here we have Howard the Duck, the Complete Collection, Volume 2. Now, I have one complaint about this. Now, first off, the issues that are included, we have issues 17 through 31 of the original Howard the Duck, so that wraps up the original series. And then Howard the Duck Magazine, number 1. Now, I have the original Howard the Duck Magazine, number 1. And I remember in particular, it was a bit controversial at the time because of a scene at the tail end of it here, where Beverly and Howard actually do get together and sleep together. Now, there's this shot here where you see this big puffy blanket covering up Beverly. That has been added to this reprint. The original magazine edition did not have anything obstructing her bountiful bosom, and you saw it in all its glory. Because, of course, the black and white magazine was part of the more mature comics, which, at the time, Marvel's mature comics line were relegated to their black and white magazine format, which you would find on newsstands. Nowadays, of course, there's, the direct comics that you get from comic stores and such, and it's way more open as far as content can go. But at the time, the sort of more mature or adult line was relegated to the black and white comics. You had stuff like Savage Sword of Conan and Monsters Unleashed, and there was they had an Incredible Hulk one, Rampaging Hulk, and lots of other ones like that. Of all of which, Savage Sword of Conan, I think, was by far the most successful. And they also did their Epic Comics line in the later, in the early to mid '80s. But yeah, so at the time, Howard the Duck was always seen as kind of a more mature comic book character, I guess, some of the subject matter of the comics. So it seemed like a natural fit to put him into the more adult Marvel comics. But some fans took exception to the fact that they showed Beverly's bountiful bosom. And I remember reading in the letters column of the magazine, some fans were, thought it was needlessly gratuitous, so they toned that down going forward, and apparently in every subsequent reprint of that magazine they drew in more blanket to cover her boobs. So if you want it complete and uncensored, you're gonna have to track down issue number 1 of the magazine in its original published form. Otherwise, everything is intact. It's just that one little instance of censorship, but it's enough to be annoying. I mean, come on, people. Just put a mature reader's banner on it already. I mean, most people who read Howard the Duck are not going to be little kids anyway. It's always been a grown-up character. Anyway, I find it especially funny because the last time that Steve Gerber wrote Howard the Duck, before he passed away, was a 6-issue miniseries for Marvel's Max line, which had, plenty of nudity and stuff in it. I mean, it was like, okay, if it was okay for that, why wasn't it okay for this? Like, come on. Like, what's with the censorship, guys? Anyway, I could go on and on and on about that. Howard the Duck has been the subject of just random censorship like crazy. Like the DVD and Blu-ray cover censor out his cigar. Yet he's still smoking his cigars in the movie. Like, really? You got to censor out the cigar? I mean, it's part of his character. He's the smart-talking, cigar-chomping duck. I mean, it's part of his character. It's part of who he is. Anyway, sorry, starting to ramble a little bit. Also picked up Scooby Apocalypse, number 22. Thought it was about time I got caught up on this one. And we got number 23. And number 24. And then this one's apparently a big turning point for the series. We have number 25. I'm not going to say why it's a big turning point for the series, but it's kind of an important issue. Yeah, and as you can see also, there's backup stories featuring Secret Squirrel in a lot of these as well. Yeah, they've been doing revamps of a lot of the old Hanna-Barbera characters recently. You got Rough and Ready, you got, what was it, Snagglepuss? Is it Snagglepuss? Yeah, and a whole bunch of other ones. You've got some other crossovers coming out soon with DC, like Hong Kong Phooey is teaming up with somebody, and I can't remember. There was a whole bunch of different ones coming out, but it seems like it's become almost a regular thing that they've been doing since they did the initial line of them. Future Quest is still around, doing Future Quest Presents and stuff like that. Yeah, I've fallen horribly behind in all of them. There's the new Jetsons. I still got to pick up the last few issues of that. And, yeah, I'm thinking, again, I've mentioned this before, I think I'm just going to start getting the trades, like the trade paperbacks as they come out, because it's just way easier to collect. Plus, you get all the alternate covers and stuff, and generally speaking, they tend to be a little bit cheaper than buying the individual issues. So, yeah, good stuff. Alright, so that is it for the comic books. Next up, we have book books. Oh my goodness, actual proper books without pictures. So we have Fahrenheit 451, the 60th anniversary edition, the classic Ray Bradbury story. I've never actually read this. Basically, this is part of a project I'm working on where I want to take a look at some some dystopian fiction, and I've got a big list of them that I'm going through. Some of them have books, some of them are just movies, some of them are books and movies. So in this case, with Fahrenheit 451, there's the book, of course. There was a movie done back in the 60s or 70s. And then just recently, funny enough, that I had this on the brain, Netflix actually put out a new movie adaptation of it. So pretty cool stuff. So yeah, so there's this one and a bunch of other ones that we'll get into when I get closer to actually making some headway on that project. But it's one that's going to take a while to do, so I'm not in any rush. But just kind of taking my time and enjoying the material for now. But maybe I'll never do it. Who knows? Anyway, I do love me some dystopian fiction, and this is one of the all-time greats. And then next up, I can't even remember why in particular. I got an inkling to rewatch the movie and finally watch the sequel, which I can see why people don't like it as much as the first one. The first one was way better. And I thought, you know what? I should finally pick up the book. So I've never read the book, and I would really like to read the original book that the movie was based on. We're talking about Battle Royale. Yeah, and look at the size of this thing. This is just a massive, massive tome of a book. I don't know how the heck they condensed this down to 2 hours, but I love the movie. The movie's great stuff. I've got the Blu-ray edition that has both of them, and it has a couple different cuts of the first one, and it's great stuff. So, yeah, really cool. Definitely looking forward to checking out the book. Now, here we have a book that I didn't even know existed. I actually have I'll just grab it here real quick. So, yeah, I actually have the original CD-ROM game of this for the 3DO. I got the novelization of Hell, a cyberpunk thriller. There you go. Which is really a twisted story. Dennis Hopper actually plays one of the characters in the game. I'll show you the game here. So this is this came out for PC, 3DO, a couple of other consoles, I think. But this is pretty interesting. It got a lot of press at the time. because it featured some live action characters and a lot of CG characters, and it's hours and hours long. It's such a long-winded CD-ROM game full of full motion video, but it's like a lot of the full motion video is just loops. So it's like a looping sequence of a CG character and then just dialogue spoken over it. So I mean, it looks incredibly primitive by today's standards. The animation is incredibly choppy by today's standards, but the story was what really intrigued me. So basically, they have all this hours and hours and hours of looping animation and dialogue and everything on a single CD-ROM. So I don't know how they fit it all in. Just must use the lowest bit rates known to man, because the quality is not the greatest. But as I say, I mean, the main reason you play this is for the story, and the story is actually really good, and it's got some great stuff. I never actually finished it. I got like fairly far into it, but let's see. Yeah, so in terms of big names in it, we've got Dennis Hopper, Stephanie Seymour, Grace Jones, and Jeffrey Holder. So pretty big name actors in this, playing the characters. So really cool stuff. Anyway, I had no idea that there was a novelization. I know this is kind of a thing in the 90s, especially with a lot of the CD-ROM games, is they would often do novelizations of them. Like, for example, I have the 2 novelizations of Wing Commander 3 and 4, which basically... But the interesting thing about them is a lot of these CD-ROM games had branching stories, so they would kind of go off in different directions, and depending on what path you chose would determine the outcome of the story. So the novels would usually kind of pick the optimal path, and so it's interesting to see kind of how it plays out in the novels versus the, how you might play it out in the game. Anyway, I thought it'd be pretty cool to check it out, because even though the animation is quite primitive and choppy by today's standards, I always really liked the story of Hell, the cyberpunk thriller. I mean, it mixes cyberpunk elements with like Dante's Inferno. It's such just the craziest mashup, but somehow it works. So one of these days, maybe I'll do some kind of playthrough of the game, and you can actually see for yourself, and we can all enjoy it together and sort of laugh at how dated the animation is, but get sucked into the story. Anyway, yeah, so some more books that I picked up here. This one is pretty cool. I have never... I'm familiar... The first time I'd heard about this series was through the anime adaptations, a very popular anime film. And I found out later that the anime was actually based on a series of novels. I guess it adapted one of the novels. So anyway, apparently there was 6 novels in this series. And I found some really early paperback editions. I was at the used bookstore basically the other day and found some goodies. But found a couple of really early paperback editions of the 5th and 6th books. We have E. Doc Smith, Second Stage Lensman. So this is part of the Lensman series. Very, very cool find here. When is this from? This is from November 1965. So yeah, this was like this is actually a first edition, of the first Pyramid Books edition of the Lensman novels. So that was a pretty cool find, and it was like $2 or $3 or something. And then they also had book 6, Children of the Lens, which is the last one in the series. And this one is not a first edition. This is a 5th printing from May 1968. So there you go. The original books were published in the 50s, like the early 50s. So pretty cool to find those. That's definitely some classic sci-fi right there. Now I got to see if I can find the first 4 books and then read the whole series. And then this was a really cool find as well. This is one of the original Battletech novels. This is The Sword and the Dagger. So very cool. This is before it became known as Mech Warriors, back when it was still Battletech. When is this from? This is 1987. Yeah, so this is a 1987 book. So this is when Battletech was still fairly new. It had only been out for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years at that point. But yeah, one of the original Battletech novels. How cool is that? And how much was this? Like $3 or something? $2.50. $2.50. And it's in pretty darn good shape, too. I'm pretty impressed with that. So, Yeah, so very happy about those sci-fi finds. That's pretty cool stuff. One, actually, speaking of BattleTech, one series I've really been wanting to get is the Blood of Kerensky trilogy, because it's the storyline that the animated series was adapted from. And I loved the animated series. I thought it was just so well done. I mean, again, talk about outdated animation. The CG sequences are definitely outdated by today's standards, but the story was just so damn good in it. Like, it was really serious, and it was a continuing story, and sadly it ended on a massive cliffhanger. So I think the series adapted like the first book of the trilogy. So I've really been wanting to read the books to find out what happened next, because a really good story, and I really wish we'd get a DVD release of that. That's like it's become one of those holy grail shows. I've got a set of it, like from my own VHS recordings from back in the day, and then some other fans helped me fill in the gaps. But I mean, the quality is really a mixed bag. So I'd really I'd just love to have like a proper DVD set of that. And I'm surprised that we've never had one. All right, so next up, last but most certainly not least, we have a pair of comic book inspired movies. We have Suicide Squad: Hell to Pay, which is one of the latest DC animated movies. So very cool. I still have to watch the Suicide Squad movie, actually. I haven't... I'm woefully behind on the DC Universe stuff. I've seen Man of Steel and Wonder Woman. And that's it. I have all of them. I just haven't got around to watching them. Can we put this maybe there? Okay. And then finally, last but definitely not least, I got the first one of this from Shout Factory a while back. And the sequel was just come out as part of the MVD Rewind collection. We have Jim Wynorski's The Return of Swamp Thing. Really good stuff. As soon as I brought this home, I immediately sat down and had a double bill of the first Swamp Thing and this one. Just watched them both back to back, and really enjoyed them a lot. And this is a really nice deluxe edition, actually. It's a brand new 2K high def transfer. There's new audio commentaries as well as some archival ones, new interviews as well as some archival stuff. 1989 promo reel, and even the original theatrical trailer is a new HD transfer from original 35mm materials. So I don't know who this company is, the MVD. They just kind of came out of nowhere, but they're doing some really nice collector's editions of some classic 80s, cult films. So definitely check them out. They also did a nice edition of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes that I'd really like to pick up. But Swamp Thing always has priority with me, so it was nice to finally get this one on Blu-ray. I've only had it on DVD for all these years, and it's great to finally have a beautiful Blu-ray edition of it. Alrighty, well, that was quite an update. That was a lot of stuff to cover. So, comics, books, some classic sci-fi, and a couple of comic book related movies. Alrighty, that is it for this update. Hope you enjoyed. I don't know how often I'm going to be doing Comic Book Wednesday stuff because, comic books are expensive, but we'll see. I'll do them when I can. In the meantime, I got a lot of comic book related movies and comic book reviews I could do. Talk about some of the stuff I've got a little more in depth. I think that's long overdue. That's something I've been wanting to do for quite some time. So maybe we'll get started on that in the foreseeable future. Alrighty, folks, that is it from me to you for now. So thank you very much for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors, and I'll see you next time. Until then, sayonara.